Hey, what is up, mortals? It's Kiki here, and before we get into today's video, there's something I'd like to say. I'd like to let you all know that we have a merch store. Some of the items in it are only available for a limited amount of time, so if you're interested, go to the description and check it out. Each purchase helps us make more content. Secondly, if you didn't know, only 25% of you guys are subscribed to us, so please hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon. Now with that out of the way, let's get into the video. The Naruto series has brought us many fan-favorite characters over its more than a decade-long run. However, not all of these characters are so lovable. Some are quite creepy and downright frightening at times. One such example is the enigmatic Orochimaru, being the series' first multi-arc antagonist. Introduced in the Forest of Death during the Chunin exams, Orochimaru quickly demonstrated that he was a deadly foe that Team 7 was not capable of beating. His story begins nearly 40 years before Naruto's birth. Born in Konoha, the village hidden in the leaves, and orphaned at a young age, Orochimaru spent a large portion of his youth alone, eventually graduating from the Ninja Academy at age 6, becoming a shinobi, and forming a team with Tsunade and Jiraiya. His master, the Third Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi, saw his vast potential as a prodigy whose analytical skills and genius could rival his own. Unfortunately for Hiruzen, Orochimaru's potential was threatened by his own twisted and sadistic nature. The death of his parents had a major impact on Orochimaru, and despite still being a child, he was already headed down a dark path. Little else is known about Orochimaru's childhood and younger teen years as we next see him fighting in the Second Great Ninja War. During this period, his age is hard to pinpoint, but the Sannin were all likely in their late teens or in their early 20s at the oldest. This war saw them fighting the other great nations as well as the shinobi of the Hidden Rain village and eventually coming to blows with their leader Hanzo of the Salamander. While Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Orochimaru lost this battle, for their valiant efforts in the fight and the mere fact they survived it, were dubbed by Hanzo to be the Densetsu no Sannin, or legendary 3 shinobi. This marked Orochimaru and his teammates in the history books as a famously renowned ninja. Shortly after this, the ninja trio came upon another trio, the Hidden Rain Orphan, Yahiko, Konan, and Nagato. In keeping with his blunt and cold demeanor, Orochimaru inquired about killing the children before being shut down by his teammate. While somewhat indirectly, it was this event that effectively disbanded Team Hiruzen and the Sannin as a single unit, with Jiraiya setting out to train the orphans in ninjutsu and Tsunade staying on the battlefield as Konoha's greatest medic. Orochimaru returned to the Leaf Village and joined Danzo Shimura's Root organization as an Anbu. This connection with Root allowed Orochimaru to expand his studies and gather test subjects for human experimentation. During his time with Root, he took at least one student, Anko Mitarashi, and taught her a number of his signature jutsu. Another character that Orochimaru's Anbu missions with Root also led him to was a young Kabuto Yakushi and his adoptive mother. Through Danzo's pressure, Kabuto's mother Nono was forced into spying on the Hidden Stone village. Kabuto himself was inducted into Root as a spy as well. After Danzo decided the 2 spies should be killed off, Orochimaru disobeyed orders and secretly saved Kabuto, who later effectively became his second in command. While Orochimaru had once been considered by Hiruzen for the position of Hokage, and Orochimaru himself did aspire for it, the darkness in his heart drove Hiruzen to instead appoint Minato to be 4th Hokage. It was likely that this event ultimately led to Orochimaru's complete betrayal toward Konoha. Being the former pupil of another genius, he took after his teacher in regards to an appetite for learning. Unfortunately, learning common ninjutsu proved not to be enough for him, and he instead turned to studying kinjutsu, or forbidden jutsu. Seeing as how he no longer needed to worry about becoming Hokage, he deepened his pursuit to learn every jutsu in existence. Through this, he became obsessed with becoming immortal and resorted to human experimentation to perfect existing jutsu and create new ones to prolong his life and continue learning. He gathered DNA and cells from the first Hokage Hashirama Senju, presumably from his gravesite, and began kidnapping young children to implant them into. Unbeknownst to Orochimaru, this experiment later yielded some success. While killing dozens of kids, one had survived. This being Tenzo, later known as Captain Yamato, who as a result of the experimentation was able to use the first Hokage's signature wood release, albeit lacking the massive power of the renowned god of shinobi. Through his experiments, Orochimaru was able to create clones, one of these becoming Shin Uchiha, whose arm was later transplanted onto Danzo using these fabled and powerful Hashirama cells. Also discovered at this time was the living corpse reincarnation jutsu, which allowed Orochimaru to prolong his life by taking over another person's body. Similarly to how he discovered and groomed Kabuto into his minion, he happened to come into contact with two other children. The first of these being Kimimaro, the last remaining member of the Kaguya clan and possessing a unique Kekkei Genkai or bloodline trait that allowed for bone manipulation. The other boy came of his own accord to try and escape or cure his bloodlust. His name was Jugo. Orochimaru's studies quickly became devoted to this boy's odd traits. That being that his body had an innate affinity for nature energy, the very same energy that fuels Sage Mode. In his research on the boy, he discovered the hidden land of the snakes, Ryuchi Cave, and set upon learning to harness this energy and learn Sage Mode. However, this was met with failure as not all bodies are fully compatible with Sage Mode, and Orochimaru's host body was unfit for the training. As is often the case in Orochimaru's story, his failures never seem to stop him for long, and he always has a backup plan. Using Jugo's affinity for natural energy, Orochimaru used the boy's supposed curse as a way to bypass the hurdle of sage training. This was the creation of the cursed seal given to Kimimaro, the second four, Anko, and Sasuke, and several others whose identities are not known. Eventually, Orochimaru's illegal and immoral experimentation ended after Hiruzen discovered him working in one of his labs. Knowing that he would not survive a confrontation with the old but still capable Hokage, Orochimaru chose to flee. While Hiruzen attempted to prevent his former pupil from escaping, he simply did not have the will to fight and potentially kill his own student. Where Orochimaru directly after this is unknown, however he left little research or clues behind and presumably either retreated to a hideout elsewhere in the world, possibly to what would become the Hidden Sound Village. As Orochimaru's host bodies tended to be quite weak and frail, he had scoped out numerous future hosts that possessed either a great measure of strength, a Kekkei Genkai, or both. The first of these was likely a young Itachi Uchiha who was a prodigy that worked for the Anbu while being only 11 years old as well as already possessing a strong Sharingan. After his escape from Konoha, Orochimaru wanted to strike against Itachi to take his body. This led to him spying on and eventually being confronted by the Pain and Sasori leader and member of the Akatsuki respectively. After being seemingly defeated by Sasori's third Kazekage puppet, Orochimaru makes a move to steal Pain's Rinnegan, only to be thrown back and injured by an almighty push. Realizing he was outmatched by Pain's powers, Orochimaru instead switched tactics to proposing he join the Akatsuki rather than be a continuous outside threat. In the Akatsuki, Orochimaru was assigned Sasori as his partner, though the two did not particularly get along well. An unknown period of time later, Orochimaru chooses to betray the Akatsuki in order to attack Itachi. While Orochimaru's goal was to steal the Uchiha's body for its Sharingan, it was those same eyes that thwarted his plan and placed him into a genjutsu which left him paralyzed and defeated. Now having confirmed that Itachi was too powerful for him to defeat, Orochimaru moved on to find a new host for him to prey upon. Now that Orochimaru's pre-series history has mostly been covered, it's time to move on to his involvement in Part 1 of Naruto. But before we get to that part of the dive, I would like to say that in case you guys didn't know, we are only one of the many We the Celestials channels. If you have the sugar tooth for great storytelling, please give our What If channels a visit as well. No matter if it's My Hero Academia What Ifs or Naruto What Ifs, we've got you covered. Did we get your attention? Great! Make sure you click the icon in the top right corner or check the description below for the links to the other channels. Now with that out of the way, let's get back into the dive. Our first glimpse of Orochimaru in the series is during the Chunin exams arc in the Forest of Death in Volume 5, Chapter 45 of the manga or Episode 27 of the anime. Here we see Orochimaru attack Team 7 while disguised as a hidden grass ninja. Orochimaru summons an unnamed giant snake to distract and/or kill Naruto while Orochimaru confronts Sasuke. With Naruto out of the picture, Orochimaru paralyzed Sasuke and Sakura with a level of fear that rivals the effects of a proper genjutsu. After a narrow escape for all three members of the group, a proper fight ensues that leads to Naruto unleashing a small portion of the Nine-Tails chakra. Orochimaru, seeing Naruto as more of a nuisance than an actual threat, decides to place an incompatible 5-pronged seal onto him that blocks and disrupts the body's chakra, leaving him unable to access the Nine Tails and rendering him unconscious. With Naruto out of the way yet again, the fight between Orochimaru and Sasuke continues. Although Sasuke was greatly outmatched, with the use of his Sharingan he was able to stall and seemingly defeat Orochimaru with the fire-style jutsu, though in reality it had little effect other than to damage Orochimaru's disguise. Using a technique to paralyze Sasuke and Sakura yet again, Orochimaru bit into Sasuke's neck and placed his cursed seal onto him before disappearing into the forest. After this, he gave orders to a team of his Hidden Sound ninja subordinates to track down and attack Team 7, in order to get Sasuke to utilize the curse mark to defeat the Sound Ninja, and later told Kabuto to link up with Team 7 and assist them in navigating the remainder of the Forest of Death. During the tournament's preliminary matches, Orochimaru spectated the matches in disguise to witness Sasuke's curse mark in person. Shortly after that, Orochimaru directly confronts Kakashi, seemingly in an attempt to kidnap Sasuke. However, it was more of a psychological ploy to plant seeds of doubt in Kakashi about Sasuke's future. While we next see Orochimaru just before the Konoha crush in his fight with Hiruzen, behind the scenes we find out that he had struck a deal with the Hidden Sand to lead an attack or potential coup of the Hidden Leaf Village. However, before the plan was fully executed, Orochimaru and Kimimaro betrayed Rasa, the fourth Kazekage of the Hidden Sand, and killed him so that Orochimaru would be able to take his place next to Hiruzen in the Kage spectator booth. During one of the final matches of the Chunin exam, the plan to attack the village was disrupted when Gaara lost control of his tailed beast, and so things were set into motion prematurely. After a genjutsu from Kabuto successfully put a portion of the spectating Leaf Ninja to sleep, Orochimaru revealed himself and began combat against the Third Hokage. Knowing that Hiruzen posed a severe threat despite being nearly 70 years old, Orochimaru had the Sound Four utilize a barrier ninjutsu to block any Leaf Ninja from assisting the old Hokage. An impressive battle then ensued, with Hiruzen putting up an admirable fight despite eventually being outnumbered, as Orochimaru used the Impure World Reincarnation Jutsu, also known as the Reanimation Jutsu or Edo Tensei. This jutsu brought the first and second Hokage into the fight. However, Orochimaru also attempted to summon the fourth Hokage, though this failed for an unknown reason. This reason was later revealed to be because Minato had died using the Reaper Death Seal and his body was in the belly of the Reaper rather than in the afterlife. Hiruzen responds by bringing his own summon, Monkey King Enma, into the fight, though this does little to save him. Realizing there is no way out of the situation, Hiruzen decides to use the aforementioned technique used by the fourth Hokage, the Reaper Death Seal, to seal away his predecessors and Orochimaru. Using shadow clones to seal away the first and second Hokage, Hiruzen himself then performs the technique and begins a tug-of-war on a now terrified Orochimaru's soul. For all of the study he had done throughout his life, the Reaper Death Seal was utterly unknown to Orochimaru, and as such he had no way to counter it. As he struggled to keep his soul, he summoned his sword to impale Hiruzen through the chest. This fatal injury left the third Hokage unable to entirely remove Orochimaru's soul, and so he settled for simply removing the use of his former pupil's arms. As the old Kage's life faded in front of him, Orochimaru's arms turned a dull purple and fell limp, the Sannin now completely unable to perform hand seals. As he curses his former teacher, he calls for the Sound Four to return him to his closest hideout. The sealing of Orochimaru's hands did not just prevent him from using them, since the arms themselves were now entirely dead, the rotting tissue began to poison Orochimaru. With his and his host body health deteriorating quickly, he both needed to retrieve Sasuke to be his new body and search for a way to regain the use of his arms. Orochimaru hatches a plan to have his arms healed by his former teammate Tsunade in exchange for using the reanimation jutsu to bring back her little brother Nawaki and lover Dawn. After tracking Tsunade down, Orochimaru proposed the idea to her. Seemingly agreeing to consider his proposal, Tsunade was told the location of their meeting place. Upon the two arriving at the location to finalize the deal, Tsunade attempted to attack Orochimaru using what appeared to be a healing jutsu, however, Kabuto was able to stop her. With Orochimaru unable to use his arms, he has Kabuto fight Tsunade for him. Before he could defeat her, Jiraiya and Naruto arrived to assist her. With all three Sani now present, a three-way deadlock begins. Despite utilizing his snake summon Manda to fight, Orochimaru's summon faced overwhelming odds and was defeated. Once again, Orochimaru had suffered a serious loss and was forced to retreat. Upon returning to his hideout once again, Orochimaru knew his time was running out and that he had limited options. Choosing to take a new body, he sent out the Sound 4 to the Hidden Leaf to retrieve Sasuke whether willingly or by force. His original choice for a new host body was Kimimaro. However, the former leader of what was the Sound 5 fell terminally ill, and as a result, Orochimaru was unable to use his body. With Sasuke now on the way, Orochimaru sent out a dying Kimimaro to ensure that he reaches the hideout before time runs out. Unfortunately for Orochimaru, the Hidden Leaf squad of Genin led by Shikamaru and assisted by the trio of Hidden Sand Genin were able to delay Sasuke and kill every member of the Sound 5. Having run entirely out of time, Orochimaru was forced to take the body of Gyenyumaru, one of his other subordinates. Although Sasuke would arrive shortly thereafter, Orochi would be unable to take a new body for another 3 years. In taking a new body, however, Orochimaru's arms were somewhat healed. While his arms were still painfully rotting and unable to form hand signs, he regained a small amount of movement. Combined with Kabuto's medicine, he would survive to train Sasuke through the 3-year time skip until he could finally take the Uchiha's body and Sharingan for himself. In the next part, we'll cover Orochimaru's involvement in the rest of the Naruto series as well as go in depth on his techniques and abilities. Thank you all for watching the video. Now there are a few more things I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, I'd like to let you all know that we have a merch store. Some of the items in it are only available for a limited amount of time, so if you're interested, go into the description and check it out. Each purchase helps us make more content. Secondly, I'd like to thank our $5 and up Patreon supporters for helping to fund these videos. Lastly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank the writer for this video as well as the audio and video editors. Their details are in the description below. If you're a voice actor, editor, or writer, or you're interested in becoming one of those, go to the Discord that is in the description of this video and hit up the head of one of those areas. We're always looking for members to join us. That's it from us for today's video. So thank you all for watching, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're interested and hit that like button if you like the video. Until next time, peace out mortals, have an amazing day!